Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Helena.
And for this spooky episode, we watched The Others.
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah, this was fucking spooky.
Was it?
Yeah, well, okay, so a bit of background on this, because obviously this podcast is about films that we used to love. So this was probably the first proper horror movie that I saw, like, properly. And my recollection as to how I saw it a little bit muddled up. It was either I saw it late one night and we spoke about it in English class the next day because it was on TV, or I watched part of it in English class. And I'm starting to think that it might not have been the second one, but it wouldn't surprise me because at one point our geography teacher did show us Blood Diamond, so I'm not too sure. But yeah, this was probably the first like horror movie that I actually sat down and watched, and yeah, I think it was just on late one night.
It's very scary. I hadn't seen it before. I think I'd seen the quite famous scene with all the furniture in the junk room with all the white sheets on the furniture, but other than that, I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, there were some, like, the bits that were sticking in my head, I was like, I remember these scary bits, and I remember the twist at the end, and then, not gonna lie, while I was watching it, I was like, oh, they're the only scary bits in the film.
Yeah. I watched this film on, like, Film 4 when it was on an afternoon or, like, at night or something, and I only watched it from, like, halfway through, because I was like, I didn't know I'd seen it until one of the scenes came up and I was like, oh, I've seen this. But I'd only seen it from like halfway through. So
okay.
It's
So you missed the boring bit because it takes forever.
It really does.
Very confusing of a film to be like, because when she's going around the house going, they've taken the curtains down and you haven't seen the first half, it's very weird where it's like, the strangers have taken the curtains down, have they? How awful.
Yeah, that loses a little bit of its poignancy.
Yeah, they're just like, and then the servants are just like, well, the new house owners wanted to take the curtains down. It's like, I don't see a problem with that. Why is that? Why is this woman having such a problem with that?
Why is she having a breakdown over the curtains?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be freaked out and or pissed off.
Yeah.
When you don't have context that she's the one that is living there. Like, the new owners have taken the curtains down. Okay, good for them.
And you've just got Nicole Kidman walking around with a gun, and you're like, okay, sure. She doesn't like these new owners very much.
Yeah, it's really easy to like assume the twist when you haven't seen the opening.
I wasn't expecting the twist at all. I got properly got.
Yeah, it was very kind of. I remember finding that like because this was so for context. I would have been in like year 8 or year 9, so this was like 2006, 2007 or so. So yeah, long time ago now. And yeah, in my head I was like, that's incredible. That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in a movie.
Had you not seen Sixth Sense at that point?
No.
Have you not seen any movie?
But I was like, oh, that's such an amazing twist. And now watching it, knowing the twist, I'm like, it's really fucking obvious what's going to happen.
Is it? I don't know. I think I was too busy being spooked to really think about it. Like, there's parts where it's like, okay, I kind of knew that there was obviously it's not subtle that there's something dead fishy about the servants, but it didn't. I think I got sort of hints towards like what she'd done. That whole like when she's talking to her husband and her husband's like, no, the daughter told me what you did. She's like, oh, I lost my temper. She's like, no, not today, last week.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, she did do something really bad.
And the little girl's just constantly like, remember when Mum went crazy? And the boy's like, it didn't happen.
Yeah. And it's like, I wasn't sure if we were going to have a kind of Shutter Island situation where she was real, but everything else wasn't real. So like maybe she was running around screaming and like her children were just kind of dead and like rotting. And she was sort of playing dress up with them essentially, and then like that scene where it's an old creepy woman was more like she'd actually seen the girl
Yeah, that's
as a dead corpse for the first time. So that was where I thought it might be going, but I didn't really think that fucking everyone was going to be a ghost.
yeah. Like, so that scene with the old lady sitting in the dress was fucking burned into my mind, and I do remember it being a lot scarier than it was. Like, in my head, she kind of lifted the veil off, and it went from being the girl's face to like the old lady face as a jump scare, but that doesn't happen. So
No, it's you seeing the hands. You see the creepy
Yeah.
old lady hands, and she's getting really.
the kind of
Really
slow reveal of it was still pretty creepy.
It's a shame that the like lip dubbing of it being the girl was so not good.
There are very few jump scares in this film.
Yeah, there's
Which
really
is
not
nice.
many scares.
It's just a
at
lot
all.
of bangs and
It's just a
crashes
lot-
and.
A lot of like creepy noises.
There was
but-
one. I was watching this while my husband was watching Blackish, and this like on the TV, so I had this on my laptop. Yeah, every now and then, like I'd get spooked because something would happen on the screen that I walked out of the corner of my eye, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, no.
Yeah, this film is really atmospheric, even if it doesn't have any like super scary, like scary parts.
Yeah, it does build up that
atmospheric.
discomfort,
Yeah.
and it's gorgeous as well in a very grayscale.
Yeah, when you see
Way.
all of it, it's quite scary.
Yeah,
And
and when
when you see
and-
all of it, it's quite
And the
atmospheric.
kids are actually pretty competent actors as well.
The kids are deliberately within the world of the story. The kids are being deliberately creepy. They just are.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Fucking. So we should go through. We should
Yeah.
explain this film because it is
So it's Nicole Kidman as a war
incredible.
widow.
They're all incredible in it, by the way.
Yeah.
Like every actor in this is brilliant.
Yeah, she's great. You get Christopher Eccleston, and he gets to just have a lie down for a bit, which I feel like he
Yeah.
really enjoyed. He's
Yeah,
like,
just
oh yeah,
shell shock Doctor Who.
yeah. But yeah, so it's set in Jersey in 1945.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she lives in a big mansion with her 2 kids, and it's like the war ended, but the husband never came home, and they're presuming she's dead, but she doesn't want to tell the kids that. And then some new servants come along.
Basically, her servants all disappear overnight. That's the premise of the start of the film: is that all the
Yeah.
servants have just up sticks and
Vanished.
abandoned.
Yeah, they all left like a week ago for some reason.
They never said goodbye. They never took their paycheck. They just vanished.
They just left, yeah.
Yeah.
So Kidman puts in an advert for some new servants to come in, and very quickly appears an older woman and older man, and then a slightly younger woman who's also mute.
Yeah.
And they agree to be the housekeeper, gardener, and like scullery girl, I guess.
Yeah, just servants in the house. And then yeah, the Nicole Kidman, Grace, is it? Her name Grace in this?
Yeah.
Goes around the house and like explains to them how the house works, and it has like a load of rules that
They
never
stop following
really-
pretty much immediately.
Yeah,
But yeah.
Yeah,
they
because it's like
never really
every
come
time
up again.
Yeah, every time you go through a door, you have to lock the one behind you, and always shut the curtains because the kids will fucking die if they see the daylight.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
the kids
She
are
doesn't
hypersensitive.
explain that. She doesn't explain that when she's showing them around the house. She's just
No.
like, lock the door because every door needs to be locked. There's at least one locked door in every room. Like, you have to, yeah. Stupid. Which is because, like, so the kids don't just walk into the sun.
Yeah,
And then don't unlock the piano. There's no real reason for that one.
Well, she
I
says
think-
that she gets migraines
Oh, yeah.
and she hates all noise. Like, she doesn't have a radio, she doesn't have a telephone,
You don't have the
no internet,
no internet.
not even
so
got 4G.
irritatingly.
it's mad. Like it's because of the Germans from the
They don't
war.
They don't have
They cut down the 5G towers.
They don't have. They don't have electricity. Yeah, and it kind of gets to that point where like the servants, again, if they weren't ghosts, just going, "Why do you live here, woman?"
Yeah,
Because it sounds awful.
but instead they're like, "Oh, it's all right. We used to work here a while ago. I'm sure we'll get to grips with it."
Yeah, and then she takes them to the children's room. Every interaction with the children is awful and creepy. Especially
Yeah, kids are very spooky.
the fact that they just sort of whisper. I hate it. I hate that they just sort of whisper to each other.
Yeah,
Constantly.
I'm imagining that's so they don't annoy their mum.
Yeah, she
with
does
their
get
headaches.
migraines. I just got why she gets migraines.
Because she's dead.
It's because she shot herself in the face. before
Oh,
they shot
Yeah,
her.
that too. Yeah, I
That would
assumed
help, yeah.
that it was she had got migraines anyway, and that the kids being loud all the time is what drove her to
They
it.
would drive it. Yeah,
I mean,
That's
that's what
another
I
one.
feel like at work, but you know.
yeah, yeah. That's another one.
I had completely forgotten just how religious this family are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very.
Like, very.
They have a lot of
very.
Religious education going on with the kids, of basically reading the Bible, reading passages, reading scripture.
It's really weird. But yeah, the kids are allergic to the sunlight. They're allergic to sunlight. So
they break out in hives if they're in direct sunlight, and it could be fatal. Like they could asphyxiate.
Yeah. So everything is lit by like candlelight.
So rather than adopt a kind of nocturnal existence and let the children go out.
Yep.
Nope.
Curtains.
Everyone, they just have the curtains shut all the time.
Yep. They're not allowed outside. It's ridiculous. But yeah, and then I can't even remember put this story in my head.
So there's lots of bumpings and thumpings in the night.
Yeah, the first thing
and
she
this
hears...
kid called Victor, the girl, the older daughter, claims to be chatting to and talking to and saying that he's in the room with her, and it's all very spooky. Like, who is Victor?
Yeah, because she hears crying and can't, the kids are separate and she can hear crying and can't tell which one it is, and it's neither of them.
Yeah, the girl, trauma dumps on the nanny, the new maid.
Yeah,
new servant. She just sort of explains how awful everything is, and how she's just like, it's terrible here. It's awful. Everyone leaves me. You're going to leave me. It's terrible.
Yeah, she's a pretty traumatized little little girl.
100%.
But also, it's really, her mum is, clearly we find out totally unhinged, but also quite unreliable and unpredictable. So at first she's telling her, don't be silly, stop scaring your brother, we don't believe you, stop telling me. And then it's okay, shit, she obviously starts to realise something's going on, and then she's like, no, tell me. And the daughter's super reluctant to actually be okay, this is what I've seen, this is what's happening. Because she doesn't want to get told off again, and she doesn't trust her mum anymore.
Yeah, which fair.
Fair enough. The kids are acting fairly reasonably for baby ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then at one point when they're trying to get to bed, Victor keeps opening the curtains.
Yeah, that's very scary. That's a very scary moment because it's really not. They deliberately make it so that you can't tell if it's Victor speaking or the
Anne.
girl.
Yeah, because it's Anne and facing Nicholas, away. Yeah.
Isn't it her? I always thought it was with the twist. Victor is one of the new house owners.
He's the kid.
Yeah. So I always thought that it was Victor speak. How the spirit talking is you let the ghost speak through you. I assumed it was the reverse of that, where it was
possibly.
her, but it was him talking.
Yeah, because then you get that bit with the old lady, don't you?
Yeah.
But she says she sees him, so...
Yeah. Yeah, it's not clear.
And then she's telling her brother to look at it, and he doesn't want to, and so she calls him a cowardly custard.
You get some proper British insults.
Really weird. Yeah. She's just calling him a coward.
And then she's like, Victor, touch his face so he knows you're real, and it's like, oh no, creepy. For God's sake.
She's deliberately being creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's the scene where before everything really creepy starts to happen, where they're just marginally creepy, and they're doing the lesson.
Yeah.
In the kitchen, she's explaining something that happened. What was she? It was something like a group of kids refusing to lie about God.
Yeah, so basically the kids are it's a story in the Bible, I think.
Yeah.
Where these children are told to renounce God and they'll be saved.
They're told if they believe in God, they'll be executed.
Yeah.
And instead of lying and say they don't believe in God, they tell the truth and get executed.
Yeah. And the girl's like, well, that's stupid.
They are. She's like, she straight up says oh, those are stupid children. I wouldn't have been executed. I'm built
Mum's
different.
Very cross. She's like, well, if you,
and
that's all the hints to where they actually are, and the fact that they are already dead. The weight that's put on the second your life after death.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's like, I'd have just told them that I didn't, but believed so in my heart. And it's like, that's smart. And she's like, no, you would lie and deny Christ.
Yeah, because, to Christians, denying Christ is a mortal sin and you'll go to hell. But the...
At least you'll go to heaven quickly if you don't.
The little girl's just I'm just built different, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, these children.
And I do like the sort of conspiratorial bit with the nanny as well, where they're both talking about how they believe bits of the Bible and they believe bits about God, but they don't believe everything. And they start talking about how like they don't think that doves are like the symbol of Christ. And they're like, yeah, they're dirty and they poo on our windows.
Yeah. That bit really made me chuckle, where it's like, they poo on our windows. It's just so out of nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mum gets real pissed off at them because the little girl's saying she'd lie and happily she'd lie and go to hell. And she's like, you're going to learn in 2 different rooms.
Yeah, she separates them.
Yeah. And the boy starts crying. And the girl is my favourite character at this point because she's like, go stand outside. And the girl goes, I can't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fuck you.
Because she's just old enough to really start, like, she's quite obstinate as a child. Like, the little boy's still very much, he loves his mummy, she's his idol.
Yeah.
The little girl's much more questioning and defying authority and starting to, like, take charge of herself.
Yeah.
So she makes a really good kind of plot, device of being like, no, I'm not going to do. But yeah, when she stands up to her mum, it is really funny.
Yes. Especially because it is like, yeah, go stand up. She's like, I can't. You know that. So fuck you. And then, they have to close all the curtains and everything on the way to and she's just sort of kind of sat in the living room reading a really creepy lesson. I can't remember what the lesson was, but it was
about like mummies and daddies and the home and stuff like that.
It was really creepy. And she, and the mum just kind of
and
sat
they're learning by rote as well, aren't they? Like her mum expects them to memorize it and stuff like that.
Yeah. She's like, I expect you to memorize this in half an hour. She's ludicrous.
And she hears all the thumping and banging around and goes to explore. And then that's when we have the really creepy junk room scene, I think. Or is that when she's being punished later? I can't remember. It all sort of blurs into, like, she tells the children to do pretty boring, horrible stuff. And
Creepy
then she gets creeped out on by the intruders. Because
she can hear, like, stomping around upstairs and thinks it's the mute girl. And then when she looks out the window, the mute girl's outside. And she's like, oh, okay. And that's when she's like, Anne, what did you see? And she's like, I can't tell you because you'll punish me for lying because you won't believe me. Yeah. And then she's like, no, seriously. And she's like, okay, they all ran away, but someone's in the junk room. Which, just full of dust sheets and
oh god, it's so creepy. And it doesn't have a proper jump scare.
No,
I was so expecting her to lift up one of the sheets, and obviously it be just a horrible face or something, a cheap shot. But I think it's actually pretty good that it doesn't. All it does is the door opens behind her, and she sees the door is now open, and someone's obviously run away.
Someone's run away because imagine it from the people who actually live in the house's perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they just see the sheets fly around, like because you see it towards the end when they're having the seance where, like, when she's pulling things, it just looks like it's floating. So thinking about it from their point of view would be fucking terrifying.
No wonder. Imagine just being sat in your living room having a cup of tea and suddenly all the curtains shut.
Yeah.
Or like you're a kid and you're lying there and you have the and the curtains just keep on, every time you close them they open. Like, you'd get rid of the curtains. You'd be like, no, fuck this shit. Like,
that's a very logical way of dealing with ghosts closing curtains, is where you just get rid of the curtain.
Yeah, like, what are you going to do, bitch? Buy some more?
Get some blinds.
You're dead.
Having a passive-aggressive battle with... I don't choose to exercise...
Oh, imagine if you're modern-day retelling and the ghost starts ordering blinds on Amazon.
Just through Alexa. It appears the ghost has learned how to use Alexa.
It turns... So then it turns out that the kid drew the ghost that she saw, and it's just a family with a scary old lady that looks like a witch.
Honestly,
but
really
it's just
creepy.
Like a blind old grandma.
Yeah, so in the junk room, she finds this Book of the Dead, which was a real thing that people used to do, which is taking photos of the dead people as like a memory of them.
Only time,
but obviously when they're already dead.
The only time they'd sit still.
Yes.
Yeah, and it takes ages to process those kind of photos, so...
Yeah, so she gets the house people to like, get rid of it, essentially.
Yeah.
And then she kind of...
She's like, well, the priest hasn't come, I'm really pissed off, I'm going to go find the priest. And they're like... And that's when you really see that that there's something definitely 100% up with the servants, because... Sorry,
Yeah, I was going to say, just before that is the bit where the piano starts playing by itself.
Yes.
Yes, and
Spooky.
she gets really angry.
And she gets annoyed
Yeah.
and slams it and locks the door. But then the door still... That bit where the door... Like, so she's like opening it a bit and then it's closing a bit and then opening and closing. And then when it slams, that genuinely made me jump so much. Because I
Yeah.
just wasn't expecting that bit.
That was a legit jump scare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, she wants to then search the grounds for like gravestones and go out to try and find a priest.
She wants, because she finds this family and she thinks, oh, this must be like I want to go and find the graves.
Yeah.
And you do get this red herring in a way of them, the two ghosts, the housekeeper and the gardener talking to each other, and she's being like, oh well, is this going to happen? What are we going to do? Is where's this heading? And he's like, oh, I don't, she's like, I keep them covered. And we realize he's raking leaves and hiding some gravestones. So we're like, oh, is she on the right track? And for some reason, they don't want her to know about Victor's grave or something like that.
Yeah. And so instead she wanders off and then she's in the fog for quite a while because, it's always really foggy around the house.
Yeah.
And I do like how later on when you see the house properly, it's actually sunny and you kind of notice that, oh, okay, so they're just locked in this small area. But
It's foggy
she
because they're
sees
not allowed to
her
leave.
husband returning from the war.
Yep.
And it's Christopher Eccleston with some nice floofy hair.
It's Christopher Eccleston playing World War II soldier, which I think he plays quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does shell shocked pretty
World War I
effectively.
soldier. Yeah, because it's
It's
World
because
War...
he's allowed to
It's
just
World War
zone
II.
out
Yeah.
and be fine.
Is it World
Yeah.
War Two or World War One?
World War
World
II,
War
yeah,
II,
because it's
because she keeps
1945.
mentioning
Yeah.
Nazis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's in Jersey. Oh, so random side note. I've been to Jersey a couple of times, and there's because it did get taken over by the Nazis for a while.
Yeah.
And there's an old underground German hospital that's built into caves, and it is one of the most fucking terrifying places I've ever been. It is so creepy.
That sounds absolutely awful.
Yeah, because you can just imagine just how many people died there, but they were Nazis, so it's okay. Still
Yeah, 'cause
scary.
Ghost Nazis are fine. I'm
Yeah.
not scared of them.
No,
Undead Nazis, as we know, not scary.
definitely not scary. I wonder what's been in more things as a bad guy, Nazis or zombie Nazis? 'Cause
Nazis, because every instance of zombie Nazis is more Nazis. Not
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
zombie. Every instance
good
of
point.
Nazis isn't more Nazis.
Yeah, good
It's
point.
technically Nazis.
Yes. Nazis get 2 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite an obvious answer, really, isn't it?
So the husband's really distant and he seems pleased to see her briefly, but then there's this conversation where we have the horrible scene where she's made her Holy Communion dress, her first communion dress for her daughter, which is a big white dress with a veil because, why
'Cause they're
not have
trying to
more
be
floaty, creepy stuff going on?
Trying to be creepy. Which
But she does seem to, she's put a lot of care and love into it.
Yeah. And the kid loves it. The girl's like, can I wear it more, mummy?
Yeah. Can I wait a little while longer?
Can I
5
wear
more
it a little while
minutes?
longer.
And she's like, okay, but don't sit on the floor.
Don't sit on the floor and don't touch
Yeah, and
the
what does that
walls.
idiot child do?
Immediately sits on the floor. Oh, I'd be so... To be honest, I understand the mum's anger there. I'd be so pissed.
Yeah, have you tried to embroider over creases?
Oh, I imagine it's awful. And then she sat
Um,
there and just immediately sat on the floor and was like, I'm going to play with my...
Creepy
Puppet.
puppet.
Mm,
Because what will make this scene creepier? That's right, puppet.
puppet.
Yes, a little marionette. And then is the marionette the scary bit? No, it's the old lady.
'Cause,
Yeah, so Nicole Kidman comes back in and is like, oh, don't sit on the floor. So she approaches her and then she realizes it's an old lady hand playing with the marionette. And then the more she looks, it's an old lady. We don't know who, but we assume it's the old lady that the girl has drawn, or that was with Victor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's basically blind. She's got completely whited out eyes, and
Yeah, she's got mad cataracts.
yeah.
Wait,
Which, to be fair, a bit difficult to fix in 1945, I imagine.
But at that point, what? Because we learn later that old woman is a psychic.
Yeah.
She's speaking to the church. She's the one connecting the modern people, the current people to the dead family.
Yeah.
What is she doing?
She might just she might have just reached the girl and is looking, and then for whatever reason, because she's in the mind of the girl, Nicole Kidman's seeing her instead of seeing.
I like to think she's in a little dress in that room playing with the marionette, and the family
Yeah, really
just stood around
really
what?
getting into it.
Family just stood around what are you doing?
And she's like, "Doo, doo, 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 doo."
We're not paying you for this.
Yeah.
5 more minutes, mother.
So then Nicole Kidman attacks the old lady in the dress, and then while she's
Just
attacking her
slaps
and
her.
throws her, it
Yeah, no,
turns
he
out
like
that
pulls her around and throws her about,
Yeah.
and it's not until she like rips the veil off that she turns back into her daughter, who is, rightfully
Terrifying.
very upset.
yeah, very terrified of the fact that her mum just started beating the shit out of her. Like,
Also, like, the idea that this woman is so ready to fight an old lady.
yeah,
I'd
Like,
fight
it's
an old
creepy.
lady if I thought she'd, I don't know, possessed my child.
No, but, like, creepy, if you find that. It's amazing that this woman's first reaction to anything creepy is violence. Because it is throughout the film. As soon
Yeah.
as anything creepy happens, she's like, how fucking dare it?
she's
How
like, right, gun.
Yeah. Like, she
Although
hears
I've-
people running in her like, trash room, and she's like, alright, we're gonna have a fight in here.
Well, to be fair, she does do the pretty realistic thing of, like, there's someone in my house, I'm going to
Oh, yeah.
get a shotgun out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Which
Mortal
I
Kombat, it might
respect.
be a Nazi.
None of that dilly-dallying with, oh, I'm going to hit them with a club.
Yeah.
No, she chooses violence very quickly, even against
Yeah.
an old lady.
After attacking Anne, she goes back up to her husband, and he's like, "I'm gonna leave," and she's like, "Is it because you don't love me?" And then they just fuck, which made me think. Imagine just like you're just sitting around in your new house, and you just start hearing ghost sex. Like...
Really polite World War II family ghost sex.
Yeah, I
Just-
wasn't a
just
massive
like-
fan of the sex scene. It was
No,
just
it
a
was
bit like,
weird
well, we've
and
got
out of place.
Nicole Kidman, and so we've
Yeah.
got her.
Yeah,
just
weird
like
and out
ever
of
so
place.
slight creaking of the springs in the bed, and that's it.
And he leaves, and she can't comprehend why.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
he's like, I've got to go back to war.
Yeah.
yeah, and she's like, "But the war's over," and he's like, "Sure, I guess." And
This
then, much
film-
like he leaves, do you know what else leaves? The curtains.
This is so the scene I remember watching when I like watched it years ago.
Yeah.
Was from the old woman scene, like just before the old woman scene. So it is really fucking confusing.
Yeah,
And it's
because
like,
you
why
don't
did
get
she
anything
attack?
to do with the light from there.
Number one, why did this woman just attack this old woman in a dress? Why is that? I was like, okay, her husband's going back to war, and she's like, why? It's like, well, there's probably more war to be done. And then all the curtains are gone.
Yeah, you also don't know when it's set. So
Yeah.
you'd be like, well, okay, yeah, fair enough. He's on leave.
He's
He's got to
yeah.
go back.
It would be a bit baffling, to be fair.
It's all like, it's really, because then everything that isn't like the ghosts and the creepy is just very like, oh, the war is on, dear. Oh no, it's very like plain and flat and like kind of, whether it has no atmosphere if there's no build up to it. So it just feels like kind of a joke of
It's
like
just
a World War
stuff
II
happening,
film.
and you're not sure
Yeah.
why. It's almost like, this film benefits from being watched from start.
Completely. Like,
I don't think that's an exclusive.
It's
That's something that's
really-
exclusive to this film either.
no, but it is really funny. It is very funny just watching this from like halfway through.
It
and not
reminds me sort of
understanding
like those people that I remember there was a chef, I think, that was complaining about people reviewing his recipes when they hadn't followed them properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd be like, "Oh, this was bland, flavorless, hated it, disgusting," and it's like, "Okay, oh, what? Why?" And like, did you follow the recipe exactly? And then they'll be like, "No, I don't like garlic, so I didn't put any in, and I'm on a low salt diet, so I didn't put any of that in, and I substituted the butter out for a bit of flavorless oil," and it's like,
Yes. Yeah.
okay, you're missing some key ingredient here.
Yeah, the amount of times I've seen people be like, "Well, that recipe doesn't work," and it's like, "Well, I skipped half of the ingredients because they didn't have them." Of course, it didn't work. Yeah, but no, that's like watching this from halfway through is the best way to watch it. It's hilarious because then she's just really, you have this really like calm, like
Nanny.
World War II woman
Oh yeah.
willing to fight an old lady at the drop of a hat, complaining about the curtains being taken.
I mean, that sounds like it could have been an episode of any other like war drama
Yeah,
that wasn't a horror movie.
yeah, it's really surreal.
The curtains have gone. The Nazis must have got them.
That's it. That's really is it. But yeah, no, she complains that the curtains are gone because the living family will like remove the curtains. There's a ghost fucking with them, which perfect way to deal with ghosts. Passive aggression, as we've said.
Well, I would say it's not passive. It's very active. It's a try it, mate. You want to keep those curtains closed? How are you gonna do that, huh? How are you gonna do that now? Yeah.
Their willingness to sacrifice their own enjoyment just to stop these ghosts. Because they're like,
Well,
"Whoa,
I think
hold the
it's
crack of door."
it's like if they're not enjoying at this point, they're probably not enjoying having curtains.
Yeah, or did they think the curtains were possessed? Like, specifically,
They're going through the house thing
Until
one by
before they
one.
get the old woman, the old woman's involved, they're just like, oh man, they got like a real shell of a exorcist in who's like, oh yeah, it's the curtain.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I've seen this before. I've seen this loads of times.
Ooh,
It's
I
the
can feel
curtains
the
that are
curtains.
possessed. You're gonna have to rip these bad boys out.
There's loads of ghosts here. What? The curtains? Yeah.
Well, what she described them as like, oh, there's like ghosts in sheets over them, and they're really creepy, and like the curtains, they're haunted. It's the sheets of the house. It's bizarre, yeah. And then they
Curtains
have
just not scary until they're moving by themselves and possessed by goats.
It has a child called Victor, like hiding behind them.
It just hit me in that scene with when they're in the kids' room and like Victor's opening the curtains.
Yeah.
It's like midnight. Why is he opening the curtains?
Because a ghost keeps closing them.
But I
Come on, you're a kid. You'd test that theory out a couple of times, wouldn't you?
That's true. I mean, like fair. I like in the morning. I get like opening the curtains and then closing again. Fair. But like midnight, I'd be like, I'm gonna deal with that till morning.
Nah, I think that once the ghost has started opening my curtains, I'm not sleeping
Well,
for a
they
little
don't.
while I
they're
work
not
that out.
opening the curtains, though. They're closing them.
Well, closing the curtains even.
Which closing them at night, I'd be no.
Maybe
That's
you
not
wanted
my
to let the fresh
problem.
air in. I like to sleep with the curtains open for a bit.
That's true.
I mean, it would be like when something slightly spooky happens in the night and then you can't get back to sleep for ages because you're terrified. Like, if your curtains shut out of nowhere, you'd be like, fuck that.
I mean, having a nice breeze would be good if you're real scared and can't get back to sleep. So, the curtains closing is probably the most annoying thing a ghost could do. I'm going to make it uncomfortably humid in here. Curtains.
Maybe he's more
and it's
scared of
foggy
the
as
dark.
well. Oh, it's so muggy.
Yeah, it'd be awful.
So the kids are safe. She just puts a sheet over them. Which I've
Yeah.
just realised is a hint to them being ghosts.
Yeah, that's actually not very subtle, is it?
Yeah, no,
When you
I've-
think about it.
Yeah, because they need to be covered in sheets so they can be okay.
That would look so funny as well. Like some of these scenes would be so silly. Like from the actual like people living there's perspective.
Yeah. You get rid of the
Yeah.
curtains because the ghosts keep closing the curtains, and then you come back and the ghosts have put sheets up.
Yeah.
There's just a sheet walking around. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, God damn it.
And the housekeepers are like, maybe they're cured of the sunlight thing, and she threatens them with a gun, like, fuck you,
He's
they're
like,
my
"How
children.
fucking dare you? How fucking dare you even try that theory?
Meanwhile, she's
I mean,
like,
that,
left
like,
the
fair
kids
enough,
alone
like-
too.
Her immediate reaction to anything is violence.
Yeah, she's got strong. I mean, apart from the bit where she kills her kids, she's got very strong mama bear energy.
I know it's not even. It's choosing violence as a first resort because she has a problem with the kids. What does she choose? Violence. Any kind of confrontation this woman has
Yeah, shouting as well.
is fixed with some form of violence. And I
Jeez.
appreciate that a little bit. Not the child murdering, but the fact that she's willing to attack an
I'm
old
glad.
woman.
I'm glad that you weren't on like. Oh, yeah.
The
This
fact
character is relatable.
the fact that she's not relatable, more of an aspiration. The fact that she's like a creepy old woman ghost gonna attack it. I'm a
No,
big.
I'm with her on that. I'd attack
That's-
the creepy old woman ghost.
That's brilliant. She wasn't scared. She was like, "Come here, give me
Yeah.
my child back."
She's basically all of the hosts of Ghost Adventures.
And then
There's a
she
ghost, I'm gonna
fucking-
fucking fight it.
She fucking judo through it.
So like she's left the kids on their own, and it gets to night time, and they're
Locked
annoying
away,
each other.
locked in their rooms.
Yeah, locked
which
in the
is-
room. So Anne's
Well,
like,
they're always
"I'm out."
locked in their
Yeah,
rooms. Yeah.
it's such a fire hazard because everything is.
Oh
lit
yeah,
by
no, those kids
candlelight.
will die in a fire.
Yeah,
Like,
because
everything-
it's very bright.
It's dark. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the
If there's
fire.
a
It's not
fire.
the smoke or the fire that will get them. It's how bright the fire is.
The light. But yeah, everything is lit by
light.
firelight. There's loads of sheets everywhere. Like that house is
Yeah.
a fire hazard waiting to happen.
Yeah. Anne's like, well, I'm going to go and leave. So she climbs out the window and shimmies down a pole. And Nicholas is like, yeah, I want to come
Hold
too.
up. Yeah.
And
that bit was kind of sweet though, because like she's really proud of how like brave he's being.
Yeah, because he's not being a cowardly custard.
He's not. He's being a bravey biscuit.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that's
so
what I'd call it.
Bravey biscuits are going to look for their dad.
Yeah, they go out.
Because their dad's left, and they're obviously pretty upset about it because their mum's insane.
And then they see the gravestones, and the boy's like, "Don't go near them; there'll be ghosts." And the girl's like, "Graves don't have ghosts, only skeletons."
Well, yeah, that's pretty good logic.
It's true.
Yeah.
And then you get the reveal of the spooky housekeepers, because she finds a Nicole Kidman finds a picture from 1891, and it's of the three housekeepers all dead from the Death Book.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the kids find the housekeepers' names on the gravestones.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was a spooky reveal because who's approaching them from behind the boy. Oh,
not the boy.
Oh, it really gave me
heebie-jeebies.
I mean, the boy is the kid in this, Nicholas, is very Brahms adjacent.
He is. It's a little English lad. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's a little bit less of a psychopath.
But yeah, we learn that this is where we learn the servants are dead.
Yeah, and they're like, we need to learn to live together, the living and the dead.
As one.
Yeah.
And at this point they're dead, but they don't explain to the family that the family are dead.
Yeah, the kids don't know they're dead.
No.
So the kids run upstairs, like Nicole Kidman lets them in and locks the door.
Yeah, they obviously run screaming to their mum because, they are children, ultimately.
Yeah, she tells them to go and hide, and they go and hide in a wardrobe.
Yeah.
And she goes and shoots. She goes up and with her gun shoots the ghost, which unsurprisingly doesn't do a lot.
No.
First reaction, she chooses violence.
And then while she's down there and the kids are hiding in the wardrobe, there's like a weird breathing, and then the old lady jump scares you again by opening the door.
Oh god, it was so creepy. Fuck that old lady.
Yeah.
She's doing her job. She's doing what she's paid to do.
Oh yeah, no, she's an excellent seance. What are they called?
She's found the ghost, because it's at this point that you see that it is like, a seance, and
they're communicating with them.
Yeah.
Like
which this is a really cool scene.
It's a really good reveal. I really like it. Paid off for me. This reveal. I thought it was really well done.
This is the most like tense, awful, like stressful part of the film because the Grace runs upstairs after choosing violence first and then talking to the servants at the door. She runs upstairs to save the kid. She runs into a room and it's the new living family having a séance with the old lady.
Yeah.
And the kids are kind of sort of trapped there.
Yeah, the kids are like screaming things, and then every so often it like cuts to like the family and you can't see the kids, and the old lady's just saying what the kids are saying.
Yeah. Which is really creepy, and it's brilliant because it is like everything that's said in the scene is said twice.
Yeah.
It's really tense. It's really
And then
cool.
Nicole Kidman starts trying to like pick things up and tear it and throw it all around because
the
lady's
the
like
little
writing,
girl,
isn't she?
The little girl walks over and whispers something into the woman's ear,
and
the woman's like, smothered us. The mother, she's smothered. The little girl's like, my mum smothered me. Not in that voice. Me mum smothered me.
She held a pillow right on my old
She
face.
held a pillow on my face and I couldn't breathe. I died.
And after I was dead, she shot herself.
And then, the old woman explains that. And then they all start screaming, "We're not dead."
Yeah, and she's writing it down. And while she's writing, that's when Nicole Kidman starts picking up the papers and tearing them up. And then it shows it from their point of view, and it's
floating?
just paper, floating around.
I didn't like that. I think that was the weakest part of the scene. I wish that they didn't do that bit. Because it felt it felt really cheesy at that point.
I don't know. I think it helped to show that they were that they could affect the environment. That it was them affecting the environment rather than the.
It makes the sheet scene and the piano stuff and that all make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I think her going to shaking the table does that.
Yeah.
I think the effect on the paper is so bad that it ruins it.
Yeah, it is pretty rubbish looking.
that's I think the problem. Like her just grabbing her like pushing them off the table would have been better.
Yeah.
It's the floating and it just looks
like
weird.
properly just rejecting it.
Yeah. I think that would have been better. Especially, oh no, if she like pushed the paper off the table and the old woman continued to just like scrape it into the table,
Yeah.
that would have been really good. But yeah, the like the floating, the effects just weren't at that level yet.
Yeah, no, they're very
2001.
glossy looking
Yeah.
bits of paper.
Yeah, well, like considering there's very little effects in the rest of the film,
Yeah, they did stand out a bit.
it didn't need it.
Yeah, definitely. Like they could have. I think it was important to show her. Like I appreciated them showing like the ghosts in like
Yeah, 100%.
being ghosts rather than being things we can actually see.
Yeah,
Yeah, didn't need to be the paper because it
Yeah,
doesn't look good.
the first thing she did was choose violence. She just tried flipping that table.
I'm surprised she didn't just punch the old lady in the face.
Round 2, you bint.
But yeah, it's such a cool reveal because I like I said at the start, I didn't see this coming that they were all ghosts. So the seance is like seeing that table. It was obviously where it clicked for me, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, this is what's going on, and it's really cool. Like it was a really satisfying twist for me.
Mm.
And I think I didn't see it coming because obviously I sort of associate that with a few other films, so I'm like, well, they can't do that. I think having just watched Shutter Island, where the woman kills her kids and then kills herself, and also obviously like Sixth Sense, they're all ghosts kind of thing.
What?
I've seen that. Had to spoil that twist for you.
I mean I hated watching it, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like it really like creeped me out. And then I had to go and walk I had to get something out the garage, and there was someone just in the grounds.
Oh,
like,
no, absolutely
just
not.
Pacing. They were on the phone.
Nope.
Thankfully wearing a very not scary beige coat.
Just
but
dressed
it
like
was
a
dark.
Victorian child.
And they had a phone, so
Oh my God.
it's not a scary ghost.
If it was a Victorian child, I'd have gone full Nicole Kidman and shot them.
Run up and choose violence. It's the best way to deal with ghosts.
And then we'd have one less podcast host. Sorry,
From
Helen
prison,
has been
from
arrested for
prison.
shooting a child.
Dressed like treating a child on his way to a fancy dress party.
Oh God! And it hadn't occurred to me that it's Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, and then after that scene, they had like the dead family, Grace and the kids, kind of like they accept that they're ghosts.
Yeah, they kind of reconcile. Like the kids seem to, forgive their mum for killing them.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, there's not much they can do about it. Like,
no,
they're stuck in the house together.
We find out that they obviously the women, the housekeepers, and the gardeners died of tuberculosis. So we do find out why the mute couldn't talk, but I can't.
It's because she found out. So
it's when she found out that she was dead.
She found out she was dead, she just never spoke after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sign when she's like the mother's like. She's finally explaining that the family are dead, and she's like, I couldn't have told you that before, but there was no like, why not? Like there was no reason, there's no like clear reason as to why she couldn't have told that before.
I think there's this thing where it's like the ghosts realise that Nicole Kidman, they're trying to get them to find it out on their sort of organically,
also
and help them, but Nicole Kidman's not up for that.
I mean, self-preservation-wise, she would immediately choose violence. As we have seen, she would immediately try to kill them.
But why are the ghosts scared of that? But maybe they're like, well, she just won't. It'll just take longer if we go in whole hog.
Yeah,
she's gonna freak out, and then we've got to start from scratch again. We might as well take our time.
I want to see this film from the point of view of the servants being like, how do we get this woman to know that she's a ghost? Because if we tell her outright, she's just going to try and kill us, and that won't help.
Yeah.
No, they're already dead. It's not going to work.
Like she's already mad. She won't fully understand what's going on. How do we? But yeah, and then at the end, the mom keeps saying, "This is our house. We're not going anywhere."
And then the actual people do the smart thing that more people should do in horror movies, and they just fucking leave.
And
they're like, no,
leave.
selling this house. I don't need this big mansion in Jersey. There's only 4 of us. We don't need such a big fucking house.
Yeah, the
And
dad
the
is like,
curtains
well,
are-
she's got rid of them, and the mum's just like, nope.
Nope,
And Victor's just
absolutely
standing there staring at the window where the ghosts are. Like,
not.
Yeah,
They're going to keep closing the curtains. Honey, I want curtains in our house.
but the
No.
good news is the kids can go outside. Well,
They
can
can,
see
'cause
sunlight
they're
now
not-
because they're already dead.
Yeah, they
Exactly,
don't need to
and-
worry about dying again.
and yeah, this is where like when you're seeing it from the perspective of the family that are alive, it's not foggy. It is like actually really
a
bright
nice
and
house, yeah.
nice, and
Yeah.
because they're not trapped in the grounds by a fog that keeps ghosts there. Because ghosts, as we learn in Poltergeist, they only have a certain limit they can go to.
Yeah.
Can only walk so far.
Yeah, I'd much rather have watched Poltergeist again.
So, Dan, you're the only person that had seen this fully before.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, watching it in the confused mess of halfway through, this film is so much better to watch with no knowledge halfway through.
Yeah.
Doesn't hold up. How does it hold up?
Like I think I was expecting it to be a bit scarier, and I think knowing exactly what the twist was and like seeing how obvious the hints are that are there, like I was a bit more disappointed by it. But I think it's probably because it had been so long since I'd seen it, and I was like, I remember this being so scary. Like it was still like a good movie.
It bloody is scary.
Yeah. Like, I remember it being scarier, but that's probably my child brain because I remember The Matrix being scary, so, you know, it is what it is.
There are scary bits in the Matrix.
Yeah,
Scary
the
bits in
bit where they put the bug in his stomach was
It's awful.
terrifying.
It's
yeah,
awful.
but I remember
And
it
the
being
mouth
worse than
bit,
it is.
ugh.
Also,
Yeah.
it holds up. Just putting
Yeah.
that out there.
What, The Matrix?
Yeah.
Are we really going for the hot take that The Matrix holds up?
Yes,
the
we are.
Matrix is a good
Wow.
movie, are you sure?
Yeah, unpopular
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. But yeah.
Oh, fair. Well, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit, this film was a bit longer than I thought it was going to be as well. Like, the beginning definitely drags a little bit.
Yeah,
Because
not
it
worth
ta-
watching.
Yeah,
I'm
it
telling
takes,
you, watch it without it. It's great.
like, it takes a
Yeah,
while
it
for
does-
there to start being ghosts, and
Yeah.
it's just like,
No, there's
It-
ghosts right from the start.
yeah. no,
There's ghosts
yeah.
throughout. The story at
Yeah,
that before
it
like, the
takes a
ghost start-
long time. It really feels like you're. Yeah,
before the ghost start, it's just a period drama.
Yeah.
yeah, but not a
That's
particularly good one.
Interesting one.
No, it's just a woman with some kids that can't look at the sun. So
It's just a weird period drama that doesn't really have any story to it.
yeah,
And
and
yeah,
then
it
there
becomes-
slowly starts. Like the thing is, there's no. I guess because from the perspective of the characters you don't see, is it's them moving into the house.
Yeah.
So for us, it's literally just kind of they live in this house anyway. It's fine, and then suddenly it's a bit creepy.
Yeah.
Like there's the start of the ghost bit seems a little bit odd, but I mean it's worth it by the time you get to the end. So
Yeah, I think it had a really good payoff. I think we've
Yeah.
spoiled this for you if you've not seen it.
yeah.
But
Watch it halfway through.
I had a really good time.
Yeah. Out of
What's your-
10, though. What's out of
Yeah.
10?
Yeah. How many haunted curtains would you give it out of 10?
How many rounds with an old lady? Personally, I'd say like 6 boxing matches with that old lady. I think, yeah, it's good. It's really, like, I imagine if it was the first time I'd watch it, it'd been in a cinema, full, like, atmosphere, absorbed. I imagine it would have been an amazing film. Watching half of it, I'm like, oh, okay, I know. As soon as I worked out that I'd seen it before, I was like, I know the twist. This film is, like, it's not super interesting anymore.
yeah.
Uh,
I just watched it in the worst way possible, which is halfway through, and then from the beginning on a computer during the day.
Oh,
Not the
such
best.
atmosphere.
Yeah, like the most atmospheric thing you could watch it on. So,
I
yeah,
watched it
it's-
at night with Blackish behind it. Very scary.
Yeah. I also before we found out that the director, to get the kids like in the state of mind, he used to play creepy music without telling them. Without
What?
warning, he'd just play creepy music at them.
That's not nice.
I mean,
it's
it
not-
works.
It's really funny.
I also don't think these kids have really been in anything else but
No,
this.
because the director kept playing scary music at them whenever they
No.
were on set.
It's because they're ghosts.
That's because they are actually ghosts.
Yeah, they had to
That's
use
why they
special
were so-
camera rig to pick them up.
That's why they were so scared of the creepy music, because like they were like, where is that music coming from?
They couldn't see the director.
There is no...
Yeah, the girl Anne did a couple of other things, and the boy did
So
yeah, a few other things, but yeah, they were definitely child actors who
didn't really want to
didn't do anything else.
which isn't weird because they're really good. But that might be down to the music being played at them.
Yeah.
But yeah, for you 2 out of 10.
I think I'd give this 7 Amazon orders from the ghost using your Alexa. I was properly sucked in with the atmosphere. I had my noise cancelling headphones on. I was
Blackish
I was
was
pretty
playing in the
spooked out.
background.
Blackish in the background, was a nice little change of pace if I had to look away. But I did jump a lot at this, and I jump easily, so that's fair play. Like, it doesn't take a lot, but I did really enjoy it, and I actually really enjoyed getting to know the 2 children as well. Like, Nicole Kidman's obviously fantastic in it, but the kids, I was actually really impressed because they acted like actual children.
Yeah.
They were obstinate, whiny,
questioning things,
getting freaked out, and
annoying,
and just pissing each other off.
And just also squabbling.
Yeah.
It was good rather than them just being like, oh, it's a weird British child kind of. Yeah, I was impressed. I think the kids made this film for me, and yeah, proper spooky. Wish I hadn't seen it, and got very freaked out by my probably perfectly innocent neighbour
dressed as a Victorian child.
Yeah, I'd probably go with probably give it a 6 out of 10 brave biscuits.
Bravey biscuit.
Yeah,
I'm mocking you with that. It's like, oh, you're being bravey biscuits. Stop. That's not making me feel good about it.
Yeah, it was a good time. I definitely remember it being scarier than it was, and then at the same time there weren't as many scares in it as I was sort of anticipating. But then the ones that I'd forgotten, like the fucking door slam after the piano scene, really got me. Luckily I the old lady bit was the bit I remembered the most, so I knew that was coming.
Yeah, I was saved for that because that's actually I did watch the trailer before I watched this film because I had to know what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's rare. It's very rare that we do actual horror movies for this kind of thing. So yeah,
yes, because I did not love horror movies when I was younger.
No, honestly, nor did I. I don't know why I decided to watch this. I think it was just on, and I was like, I want to stay up late tonight because I'm I don't know, 14.
I'm a little boy. I'm a scary little boy.
I'm a little scamp.
I just want to stay up and be scared.
Oh, I'm a
scamp. Blimey. I hope I'm not a ghost.
Oh, God. Yeah, what is really scary about this film is you might be a ghost.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I did have 2 thoughts when I saw my neighbour. I was like, oh shit, is my neighbour a ghost? And then I was like, oh shit, am I a ghost?
Yeah, this is the existential crisis of a horror movie.
Yeah.
Well, before we have a full-on existential crisis, I've been Dan.
I've been Michael.
And I've been Helena.
You can find this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at HiltonPod. That's at HILTMPod. We're on Discord as well, where you can hop in there and talk about movies and talk about whether or not we're ghosts. And we've got a Patreon as well. Yes. What are we doing for the Patreon this week?
We're going to buy a house in Jersey. We're going to buy a big mansion in Jersey.
Holiday home. Love it.
Nice.
We're going to buy...
Yeah, it looks nice when it was not haunted.
Specifically one with a haunted family, and specifically a haunted family where the mother chooses violence at any given option.
So we're going to buy a house haunted by violent ghosts.
Yeah, 1 violent ghost and 2 children. This is awful.
And some ghostly housekeepers. So.
And some ghostly housekeepers who keep closing curtains. I want a bad time. I'm going to use your money to have a bad time in Jersey.
If you want to do that, just go in the underground hospital. It's scary enough.
Gonna be stressed. We'll make some podcasts from there. We'll maybe talk to the ghosts and be like, "Hey, do you have any films you watch?" And they'll be like, "No, what's a film?"
I saw that one where the train
seen a
came
film
into the
in
station.
a while. It would be
terrifying.
terrible.
I thought the train was going to hit me.
If we
Turns out they did get hit by a train. That's why they're ghosts.
That wasn't a film.
Are there trains in? Is it big enough for trains?
In Jersey?
Probably.
No, I don't think so.
But we need to realize that with this ghost, if we say something they don't like, they will attack us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just a podcast episode, and every so often in the background you hear gunshots.
Someone's upset the ghost again.
Ah, the light.